Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Nur Zahira binti Zulkifli. In this video, we would like to share about psychological disorder, which is dissociative identity disorder, or also known as DID. This is our case study based on the chapter of the Introduction to Psychology. What is DID? Okay, let me tell you. DID is a mental illness that involves the sufferer experiencing at least two clear identities or personality states, also called alters, each of which has a fairly consistent way of viewing and relating to the world. Main identity known as the host and the others are known as alters. The alters are usually different ages, races, have different levels of intelligence, and even opposite genders. We have chosen a video that relates to dissociative identity disorder DID on YouTube. The title of the video is 15 Personalities in One Woman, which is about a woman whose name is Paula was facing a mental health condition that known as dissociative identity disorder DID for a long time. Her alter can become a kid, teenager, adult, and teacher. Paula also has an alter that she doesn't like and always afraid of the alter. When the psychotherapist asks any information to her, the alter will slowly change to someone else. It is depend on the question that makes her alter change to kids or adults. How people got the dissociative identity disorder DID, right? Alright, so basically DID happened to someone is because they have the trauma that they experienced during childhood, such as sexual abuse, nightmare, emotional, and physical. As an individual who are studying psychology, DID is quite dangerous for people that have this mental health condition because they keep hearing certain voices, such as children's voices or voices of supernatural powers. When DID came, they will experience amnesia, which is they don't remember anything every time the alter came. That is why they are generally unaware of this existence of the alternate personality or memory of what they were doing when that personality took over. People that have DID also desire to harm themselves and even attempt suicide. Like Paula, the woman in this video, also had tried to kill herself because of the alter that came in her body. As an individual who are studying psychology already know about DID must take it seriously. Everyone must be aware when someone has DID, even though they know nothing about it. People that experience this DID is not their fault. They also don't want this mental disorder in their life. So, as a human, we should help those who suffer from this mental illness.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Adira binti Muhammad alias number matric 291603. Alright, in simple language, dissociative identity disorder (DID) means personality disorder, which is when a person has more than one personalities. They are very different from each other. Sometimes they look cheerful and very happy, but at other times, their personalities can change and they can become more aggressive, negative, and that's all. Right. It depends on the different personality that inside them. The important factors in this case are behaviorism, social learning, and cognitive. Behaviorism. The learning theory to behaviorism relates learning to behavior change. It emphasizes the relationship between individual response and stimulus as a learning process. This theory is also known the stimulus response theory. Among the famous figure is in the section Pavlov, Thorndike, and B.F. Skinner. They have presented various types of theory and their learning implication to the teacher. The second is social learning or observational, suggests that an individual will emit behaviors that are accepted by society and also behaviors that are not accepted by society. Accepted behaviors is different from one culture to another culture, different between individuals, and different according to the solution. Thus, social learning involves not only the process of learning acceptable behavior, but also unacceptable behavior. This is similar to the process of generalization and discrimination described by Skinner. Alright, for the last one is the letter of cognitive. Cognitive theory is related to mental process that involve observation, knowledge, and understanding. Famous psychologists such as Cole, Koffa, Piaget, Brunner, and Ausberg and Gain. They agree that the learning process is an internal process that occurs in the mind and cannot be directly observed from human behavior. Cognitive psychologists focus their studies on various types of learning in the process of problem solving and intellectual literacy according to the age and ability of student. Therefore, learning theories under the cognitive section are focused on learning method, such as intellectual thinking, problem-solving methods, discovery, learning categories, and reception. The process intellectual literacy information processing using internal cognitive structures of various age levels and student ability. All information received is matched with existing information, modified and rearranged to produce new information. That's all from me.
According to our video that we have choose is about a woman who is suffering from the mental illness which is dissociative identity disorder or known as DID. Dissociative identity disorder can be classified as a mental health condition. Someone who has been diagnosed as a DID usually they will have a multiplied distinct of the personality in a time. They usually have two personality and above. DID also can change their tone of their voice, age and gender. These diseases are because of the effect of trauma with the past experience that they have been through, such as sexual and physical abuse during their childhood. The condition may lead them to the delusion, depression, and loss of their memory. The primary biological foundation of psychology that has linked to the phenomena in our case study video is brain. It will make an alteration of the brain structure and function of the DID patient. It means that the dissociative identity disorder diagnosed has a different and abnormal thinking pattern compared to a normal person. Sometimes they also will live in their own fantasy life. Then, after a few sessions of consultation with Paula, Mr. Colin A. Rose as Paula's psychiatrist decided to take Paula to meet the neurologist specialist to make a test using the EEG machine to help him to know in more deep and detail about Paula's brain activities. The result of the test has found that DID patient will face a muscle tension and it's usually got way more in the part of their forehead. Not only that, at that time when they change or alter their personalities, their heart rate were also increasing and sometimes it was erratic depending on the character that they are currently being on. All the behavior that has been shown by Paula is basically because of the trauma that she has faced in her past. All of the memories stay in her brain until adulthood because of her bad experience and trauma in her childhood.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nursila binti Muhammad Sabri, and I will explain about question 4, which is describe two suggestions on how to resolve this issue from the case study, which is our case study, which is someone that has dissociative identity disorder. The first suggestion that I suggest is to do a psychotherapy. There are not many treatments that can be used in order to treat someone that has dissociative identity disorder. However, there is long-term treatment that can be helpful to treat if only the patients that commit, which is psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is also known as one of the most effective treatments that can be used in order to treat someone that has this kind of disorder, even though this kind of treatment will take many years in order to treat the patient. The psychiatrist also will help patients to eliminate or control their troubling symptoms. The psychiatrist also will guide the patient toward the right treatment, which they will use a variety of treatments and techniques to aim to help the patient identify and change troubling emotion, thought, and behaviors. Next, in this therapy, the psychotherapist will only focus on early life events and also about the experience that impact the patient's current behavior. In this case, the patient, which is Paula, who have 15 personalities, they have one psychiatrist that help her to understand more about dissociative identity disorder and also let her to identify what problem did she have that made her have this mental illness. He will help her by doing psychotherapy, or in a simple way we call as talk therapy, to solve her mental illness. In this therapy, he will ask Paula a question to know better about the other 15 personalities. In this therapy segment, the psychiatrist will identify and work through the past if Paula has trauma or abuse. In this case, Paula has childhood trauma that made her have dissociative identity disorder. Her other personality exists in order to help her protect her from childhood trauma. So, the psychiatrist need to identify her 15th personality in more detail to identify Paula's trauma or the reason why she has this disorder. The other suggestion that I will do to treat someone that has dissociative identity disorder is by doing a cognitive behavioral therapy, or known as CBT. Actually, there is a difference between psychotherapy and CBT. In psychotherapy, the psychiatrist will only focus on how to heal the patient's past psychological wound. Meanwhile, in cognitive behavioral therapy, the psychiatrist only focus on changing unhealthy and negative thinking patterns that developing any tools in order to fight with difficult feelings or behaviors so they will be better to cope with everyday challenges. Next, in psychotherapy, it will help a patient to process and heal psychological or emotional scars that they might not have been aware were present, which help to decrease or even eliminate undesirable behaviors. Contrary to cognitive behavioral therapy, which doesn't examine a person's past very truly, psychotherapy does consider the person's prior experience and how they might have influenced their current reality. The cognitive behavioral therapy treatment often includes efforts to transform behavioral patterns. These strategies consist of the patient needing to face the fear they have instead of avoiding it, using role-playing to prepare for potentially traumatic interaction with others, and lastly, learning to calm one's mind and relax one's body. Actually, these strategies have been used in Paula's psychiatrist in this video, and the psychiatrist is always ready to catch up and ready every time Paula changes her identity during the therapy. After that, in cognitive behavioral therapy, instead of focusing on the circumstance that leads to the patient problem, cognitive behavioral therapies highlight what is happening in the patient's current life. Although some knowledge of one's past is necessary, the main goal is to move forward in time and create more useful coping mechanism. That's all for me. Thank you.
The theory that can be linked to this disease is psychodynamic theory by one of the most historical figures in psychology, which is Sigmund Freud. This theory has been used to explain everything from child development to abnormal psychology and also human personality. Based on the case study, Paula suffers from a disease called dissociative identity disorder, or known as DID. Dissociative identity disorder, or DID, is brought on by the traumatic events that a person has when she was a child. This is demonstrated by an incident that happened to Paula when she was a child, such as sexual abuse, bullying, face shaming, and also body shaming. This mental health can be related to psychodynamic theory, as this theory deals with unresolved historical events, like things that Paula had when she was a child. In a nutshell, psychodynamic theory is concerned with unresolved historical events. Basically, the psychologist or any psychiatrist will use this theory to deal with the problem that happened to their patients, and also use this theory to treat their patients.
The next theory is behaviorist theory. Behaviorist theory, as we know, focuses on the idea that all behaviors are learned through interaction with the environment. Meanwhile, the behaviorist theory of personality attempts to explain on how personalities are learned and then reinforced by the person's environment. As we already know, someone's behavior and attitude can be created through his or her environment, whether it is in a good environment or a bad environment. Through Paula's life, her behavior was reinforced by her traumatic events when she was young. Paula being bullied and being left out by her friends. Paula became a quiet person. Sometimes she been shaking and trembles when facing other people in her life. This all stems from a terrible experience that she went through. This has proven that the person who suffers from dissociative identity disorder, or we can call as DID, can develop this kind of behavior through their entire life. It is highly believed that behaviorist theory can be related to the patient who suffers from dissociative identity disorder. That's all from our groups. Thank you.